Do you want to add a touch of vintage charm to your Christmas tree? In this video, I'll be doing a crackle finish and adding some air-dry clay embellishments to make a whimsical carousel Christmas ornament. I made a few mistakes along the way, but I'm going to share with you the best tips and tricks so you don't have to. Hello, my crafty friends. I'm Donna from Mason Creations, etc., and welcome to my channel. If you're ready, let's make a mess. I'm not sure where I got this cute little board. It's been in my stash for such a long time. I'm going to use pentart paint in the color gold and paint the entire surface. I'm sure you guys have noticed that I use a lot of Dixie Belle and pentart paints. These are my absolute favorites. They both go on super smooth and creamy with really good coverage. I rarely, if ever, need a second coat of pentart, and that goes for the metallic colors as well. When I got to the cutout areas, I used a sponge so I wouldn't get a buildup of paint in between all the cutouts. The sponge added the paint smoothly over all those edges. My crafty friends Mary H. wanted to see a vintage ornament, and Nikki J. from England wanted to see a carousel. Here you go, ladies. This video is for you. This and all the products you're going to see me use today came from decoupagenapkins.com, my wonderful sponsors. I'm going to do a crackle background by using Folk Art one-step crackle medium. This crackle is designed to be used between 2 layers of paint. The gold was my first layer. Now I'm going to add a layer of the crackle medium and let that dry for about an hour. I didn't add this to the cutout section on the border, just the center surface area. If you want to see a video on different types of crackle mediums, you can click the banner in the top right corner. I'll also leave you a link for the video in my description box below in the More section. I'm using Dixie Belle paint in the color Drop Cloth. I'm only putting it in the center surface area and not on the cutout areas. I have some special plans for the cutout areas. I'll show you that in a few minutes. You can see the paint cracking immediately. This is a chemical reaction that the crackle medium causes. The gold base color that I painted first will show through the cracks. Once you put the paint down, try not to go over that area again. You'll disturb the cracking process. Where it looks like you didn't get the paint is actually a crack starting to form, so be careful. I'm using Doss clay to make this very cute carousel horse. Doss is one of my favorite clays. It's soft and moldable and very easy to work with. I'm pushing the clay into the mold everywhere. Once it's in all the spaces of the mold, I'm trimming off all the excess with my palette knife and then pressing it down again. If there are any areas where too much came off, I'm adding little pieces of clay and then trimming it off again. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. It's fun to see what cities and countries you are all watching from. I'm filming from Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. Now I'm wetting my finger with a little bit of water and rubbing it all over to smooth it out and clean up around all the edges of the mold. Now I'm going to pop this in the freezer for about 20 minutes. I've been getting a lot of requests for an in-depth video on how to work with clay. I'm actually working on that video right now. I'm going to try my best to have it ready for next Sunday. I'm going to go over the ins and outs of working with clay as well as some tips and tricks. Here we go. One horse fresh out of the freezer. You want to remove your clay as soon as you take this out of the freezer. It thaws fast and it needs to be frozen when removing. Since it's frozen, it's nice and stiff, so it'll pop out of the mold really easily. Isn't that nice? And nothing breaks off. Look at all these cracks. Aren't they spectacular? I'm using tacky glue to attach the horse while the clay is still wet. It's still a little frozen, but that works in my favor. It's still a little stiff, so it's easier to glue in place. DecoupageNapkins.com has such a great selection of napkins that you can purchase one at a time. They carry many other craft supplies such as rice paper, paint, clay, molds, and a great selection of Polyvine products. Over 8,000 products and growing. They are wonderful to work with and will send your order out fast. They offer several automatic discounts when checking out. Subscribe to their newsletter by entering your email address and you'll receive 10% off your next order. They are truly your one-stop shop for craft supplies. Make sure you check them out. I'll be leaving links for all the products I use in my description box below. I used my palette knife to make sure the poles were nice and straight. I let my clay dry overnight and now I'm painting the horse a solid white using Dixie Belle in the color Cotton. I'm painting the saddle in some pretty red and green Christmas colors. I'm using Pentart paint in the colors red and pine green. I used vintage pink for the roses and Pentart gold for the poles, straps, and bridle. Send me a comment and let me know what type of project you would like to see next. I love designing projects around your requests. Just be patient with me though, I get a lot of them. I'll definitely get to yours. Sometimes it just takes me a little while. I love hearing from all of you and look forward to reading all your comments and requests. So keep them coming. Make sure you stick around. I'm going to show you how to make that pole shine like real brass. I'm painting Polyvine metal leaf size on all the exposed cutout edges around the wooden board. I also painted it on the pole. When this dries in about 20 minutes, it will be very sticky, and that's what we want for the next step. If you've never used rub-on foil, you're in for a treat. This stuff is so much fun and it comes in quite a few colors, but for this project I chose gold. I'm going to lay the sheet over where the glue has dried and rub it. Because I put the adhesive over wood, it dries patchy. This is going to give the frame a tarnished gold appearance. The pole is made of clay, so you get a solid gold appearance on the raised areas of the pole. It really makes it shine and look like beautiful brass. If you're enjoying this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. And why not share this with a friend? Thanks for doing that. I'm giving the entire thing a coat of Polyvine heavy duty wood varnish. I'm using the satin finish because I'm going to be doing some antiquing and I need a shiny surface for that. Polyvine makes several different formulas, but this one is my favorite. With each coat of the satin finish, the shine deepens. This formula is water, heat, and UV resistant, as well as food safe. I'll let that dry for about an hour. I've had this gold trim in my stash for quite a while, so I'm not sure where I got it. I'm gluing it around the edge of the center area, separating the two sections. I have more Christmas videos coming up. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of them. Now it's time to antique the horse. I'm mixing light brown paint with a glazing medium. The glazing medium thins out the paint and extends the dry time. This way you have time to work with it. I mixed about a teaspoon of the glazing medium with a tiny bit of paint. I'm brushing it on and then wiping it off right away. It will stay in all the crevices and low areas, giving the horse an old vintage look. This is why you need the shiny surface before antiquing. If you didn't have the shine, it wouldn't wipe off the high areas. The antiquing would just grab onto the existing paint and not wipe off at all. I made sure to get the antiquing around the perimeter of the horse where he meets the board. This will create a shadow and make the horse stand out from the background, giving it a 3D look. I let the antiquing dry for about an hour, and now I'm giving the horse a coat of the Polyvine Heavy Duty Wood Varnish to protect everything I just did. Now it's time to make the back of this ornament pretty too. I painted the golden cream paint just like I did on the front. I sprayed Pixie repositionable adhesive on the back of my snowflake stencil. This is important. It keeps the stencil from moving and stops anything from bleeding under the stencil. I'm adding a transfer gel with my palette knife and scraping off the excess. Make sure you wash your stencil right away. You don't want to let anything dry on your stencils. It will ruin them. This will dry clear, raised, and sticky in about an hour or so. If you want to see a video on how to correctly stencil, click the banner in the top right corner. I'll also be leaving a link to that video in my description box below. It's dry now, and you can see the snowflakes are clear. I'm going to use the gold foil again to make them beautiful. I laid the foil down and rubbed it so the gold would transfer to my dry transfer gel. The transfer gel really grabs that gold from the foil sheet. It really looks so pretty. I also added the adhesive on the back cutout sections so I could add the gold foil on there as well. Now I'm going to give the back a coat of the Polyvine Heavy Duty Wood Varnish so it's protected. And I'll let that dry for about an hour. I'm going to make that cute little circus tent out of some gold poster board. It's thin and I stored it rolled up so it's perfectly curved. I drew out a template and traced it onto the back of the gold cardboard. It was pretty easy to cut with some scissors. I glued 3 pieces of that same gold trim to the tent. I went from the top center to the indent in the bottom scallops. Some of the trim is hanging over, but I'll cut that off before I add it to the ornament. I'll let the glue dry for a couple of hours. I had a mold for some circus flag trim that came with the carousel horse. I'm gluing that to the bottom of the tent scallops while the clay is wet and I can form it to the tent. I made a dent in the wet clay with the edge of the cardboard, added some glue, and then pressed the cardboard into the dent in the clay. I test all the products that I recommend in my videos. I won't recommend anything that I haven't used myself and prefer. If I'm recommending it, you can bet it's a great product. Each product will be listed in my description box below, and will have a blue link to make it easy for you to find. Any of the links I provide are safe for you to click on. I'm going to let that dry for several hours. Now that the clay is dry, I'm going to paint it that pretty Christmassy red. I'm painting it on the top and underneath. After painting, I gave it a coat of the Heavy Duty Wood Varnish. I let the paint dry about 30 minutes and now I'm adding a bronze ball chain between the clay and the gold cardboard. This will fill in the space between the two. The carousel horse is adorned with some roses that I painted vintage pink. So I'm going to add a few others around the board. I'll be painting them the same color and adding a few leaves. I let the paint dry and then added a coat of heavy-duty wood varnish. I'm going to be doing some antiquing on them as well, so I need a shiny surface. All these tiny little pieces fall all over the place when you're trying to paint them. I put a piece of packing tape on this little cutting mat upside down and taped it down on the back side. All these little flowers and leaves stick to the tape so I can easily paint them. I used the same mixture as I did with the horse. I'm brushing it on and then wiping it off right away. Once that dried, I gave them another coat of heavy-duty wood varnish to protect everything I just did. Now, to make the horse look gorgeous, I'm adding a metallic wax rub in the color White Pearl. It will brighten him up and make him shimmer. I added a metallic wax rub in aged brass on the red tent flags. Notice that I put some of the rub on my finger and then rub my finger and thumb together, smearing it a little bit. This keeps a big glob from being put on your piece. Once you put this on, you can't take it off, so put it on delicately. You can always add more if you need to. This little circus tent just makes the whole thing. I'm using my hot glue gun to set it in place. I cut the point off the top of the tent so it would fit nicely just under the trim. I'm also adding all those little flowers and leaves. I placed them here and there, not making anything look too symmetrical. In art, asymmetrical and odd numbers are always more pleasing to the eye. I love the way this is turning out. I think it's just so cute. I have a really big tree, so I always put large ornaments on it. This is going to look really good on there. But if you have a small tree, it would also make a great wall hanging. You could even make it on a larger canvas with 3 horses instead of 1. The roses and leaves need a little bit of shimmer too. I'm adding some metallic wax rubs and the color Sweet Rose to all the flowers and Mint Sparkle to the leaves. I made this really Christmassy bow for the top using some plaid ribbon, red velvet ribbon, and a little gold bow in the center made out of the trim that I used on the ornament. I'm trimming the tails of the bow to get them the right length. I'll glue the bows at the top, one in the front and one in the back. Don't forget, all of the wonderful products I'm using today can be found at my favorite place for craft supplies, decoupagenapkins.com, and I'll leave you links in my description box below. Any of you that follow me already know this is coming. Gotta have a rhinestone in the center of the bows. I put together a playlist of some other tutorials you may enjoy. Click the picture on the right to be taken directly to that playlist. I'm so happy you were here with me today, and thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all next week. I'm working on a new project with you in mind. You can subscribe by clicking my picture in the top right corner.